At this time, I will say that the defendant is not eligible for probation, and probation is denied. And so, Lonnie Franklin Jr., for the first-degree murder of Deborah Jackson as alleged in count 1, and the special circumstance of multiple murder, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Henrietta Wright, as alleged in count 2, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Barbara Ware, as alleged in count 3, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Benita Sparks, as alleged in count 4, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Mary Lowe, as alleged in count 5, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Lucretia Jefferson, as alleged in count 6, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Alicia Alexander, as alleged in count 7, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Princess Berthomew, as alleged in count 9, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. For the first-degree special circumstance murder of Valerie McCorvey, as alleged in count 10, it is a sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. And for the first-degree special circumstance murder of Janisha Peters, as alleged in count 11, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. It is further ordered that the following additional sentences are hereby imposed and shall be deemed completed upon the death of the defendant Lonnie David Franklin, Jr. As to count 8, the willful, premeditated, and deliberate attempted murder of Anitra Washington on November 20th, 1988, you are sentenced to a life term pursuant to Penal Code Section 664 and 187A. For the firearm enhancement pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.5, and as of the law in 1988, an additional and consecutive term of 2 years is imposed. All other sentences are imposed consecutively to this count pursuant to Penal Code Section 669. As to count 1, the first-degree murder of Deborah Jackson, the additional firearm enhancement, which was in effect at the time of her murder, that additional term of 2 years is imposed. As to count 2, in the murder of Henrietta Wright, the additional 2 years is imposed pursuant to the firearm enhancement of 12022.5. As for the murder of Barbara Ware in count 3, the additional 2-year term is imposed pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.5. As to count 4, as to Benita Sparks, the additional 2 years for the firearm use pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.5 is imposed. As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Mary Lowe, the additional 2 years pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.5 is imposed. As to count 6, the first-degree murder of Lucretia Jefferson, the additional 2 years for the firearm use is imposed pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.5. And as to count 7, the murder of Alicia Alexander, the additional 2 years is imposed pursuant to Penal Code Section, in effect at that time, 12022.5. And as to count 11, as to the murder of Janisha Peters, to the firearm enhancement pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.53D, the court imposes the term required by law of 25 years to life.
In each of the cases, didn't she?
Yeah, we got 10 death
For
penalties.
the firearm
Yeah, we got 10
enhancements
death penalties.
pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.53C and B and 12022.5A1, these terms are stated pursuant to the provisions of Penal Code Section 654, pending the completion of the sentence imposed pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022.53D. The defendant is entitled to actual credits as against the sentence that I've imposed, the non-death penalty sentences that I've imposed of 2,226 days. He is not entitled to any good or work time credits. The total non-death sentence is life plus 25 years to life plus 14 years. All of that consecutive. Additionally, the defendant is ordered to make restitution, and we did have